Ito yung part 2. Pero total, nandito naman tayo tungkol kay Bobby Ray Parks. Ang naging proseso nun, sumulat ang Japan League sa SBP. SBP sumulat sa atin, advising kung okay yung release. Sumulat tayo sa token text. Sinagot tayo ng token text, okay, to release sa Japan League. So, ganyan na nangyari. So, okay na maglaro si Bobby Ray Parks sa Japan. Questions? Wala. Okay. Pero naririnig nyo kami? Naririnig nyo kami? Ayan. Sino yun? Sino yung question? Demisa. Sino? Denison.
Depcom Eric. Sir, you mentioned earlier na I can't help but process this, pero unang-una pala nitong press con, you insist kung Willie na hindi to magiging resident, sabi niyo po. Can you expound on that, especially dun sa context ng dalawang developments that just happened ngayong umaga?
Pwedeng pakihintay muna itong polisiya namin. Nandito lahat sa polisiya namin. I-discuss namin mamaya pare.
Okay, Com. Thank you, thank you.
Ruben.
Com, although baka nasa policy nyo rin ito, but nai-announce nyo, but gano'n na ba magiging process? Kailangan magpaalam yung mga liga like Japan sa inyo bago yun nga. Kung may interesado silang player dito sa PBA, kailangan nilang sumulat. Gano'n ang magiging process ba?
Pare, sa lahat ng asosasyon, sa lahat ng liga, ganon ang proseso. Kung kukuha ka sa Lebanon, ang Japan, kukuha sa Lebanon susulat sa kanilang NSA. Okay? NSA, susulat sa team ng Lebanon. Pag okay, ganon ang proseso sa lahat, pare. Hindi lang sa Pilipinas.
Pero so pwede ba sabihin na yung kay Kiefer hindi naging ganun ang naging proseso?
Iba nga yun. President. Okay? Pakihintay lang ng polisiya namin, pare. I-explain namin lahat.
Thank you, Com.
Salamat. Tinito, may tanong ka?
Di na, Com. I'll just wait na lang for the revelations sa study group. Thank you.
Salamat. Jerry Ramos, may tanong.
Nakausap mo ba si Chairman about regarding their decision just to allow Ray Parks to finally play in Japan, considering na medyo may bad blood between the team and Ray Parks dahil nga dun sa nangyari sa kanila before?
Kausap ko si Chairman kahapon, sinabi niya pinapayagan niya si Bobby Ray Parks na maglaro sa Japan. Yun lang pare.
Pero the rights of Ray Parks once he returns sa PBA nasa TNT pa rin, ano?
Boss, nasa polisiya namin mamaya. Ma-explain namin mamaya.
Okay. Thank you.
So, may tanong pa? Wala na. Sino pa? Okay. So, sisimulan namin yung sa polisiya. Kaya nandito si Attorney Melvin sa legal, Depcom Eric para kung ano sa operations. So, susundot-sundot lang ako ha. Pero silang dalawa mag-explain. Attorney Melvin.
Good morning, everyone. For your information, the PBA Board of Governors approved policies on the following topics: players with expired contracts, players with live contracts, and third, rookie eligibility. Punta po tayo sa players with expired contracts. Existing policies on free agency are retained. A player with an expired contract and with no offer from the mother team is an unrestricted free agent. If a player has an expired contract and the mother team offers him a new contract, the following rules shall apply. The team has 30 days from contract expiry to negotiate a new contract. If the player does not accept the offer of the mother team, he can entertain offers from other teams after the 30th day. The mother team shall exercise its right to match within 5 days from receipt of the offer from another team. If the player receives an offer from another team and the mother team matches the said offer, but the player refuses to sign up with the mother team, the player will sit out for 5 years before he can return to the PBA. The team retains its rights over the player during the 5-year sit-out period. The player becomes an unrestricted free agent after 5 years. If a player returns to the PBA within 2 years from contract expiration, he will have to accept the matching offer of the mother team. If the player fails to return within 2 years, he will have to complete the 5-year sit-out period before he can return to the PBA. So yan po ang bagong polisiya para sa mga players with expired contracts.
Sorry, diretso na.
For players with life contracts, as a rule, life contracts shall not be terminated except for medical reasons. The sanctity of the contract should be honored and respected. Pre-termination of the contract by the team and by the player based on any other ground will be considered a serious breach and should not be allowed. Leave of absence or retirement is tantamount to contract pre-termination and should not be allowed. If this happens, the player will be banned from the PBA. The team will be fined 20 million pesos, and the PBA may avail of legal remedies. If it is the player alone who refuses to honor a life contract, he will be subject to the following. The team and or the PBA may avail of legal remedies. B, the player will be banned from the PBA. Yun po ang rules natin ngayon for players with expired contracts.
Eric, and then discuss mo.
Good morning to everyone again. For the rookie eligibility, here are the new requirements. Who are eligible to join the PBA draft? Number 1, 22 years old and above, or with a minimum of 2 years in college and should be 19 years old. Number 2, an applicant who is eligible to join the draft may opt not to join the draft, but the following rules shall apply. Number 1, he will have to sit out for 5 years before he can join the draft. Number 2, he can choose to join the PBA draft within 3 years from the date of his eligibility, provided that he will be drafted through a special lottery among the 12 teams. If he fails to join the draft within 3 years, he will have to sit out an additional 2 years to complete the 5-year sit-out period. Number 3, if a drafted player and the team fail to agree on the terms of a contract, the player will sit out for 5 years without the need for an arbitration by the commissioner. The team can assign its right over the player during the 5-year sit-out period. Fourth, the rookie maximum salary cap for the top 3 draftees is lifted, provided it will not exceed the maximum salary cap. And lastly, currently eligibility requirements for field foreign players are retained. Field foreign applicants can join the draft until they are 30 years old. So those are the changes and requirements that will be applicable for the upcoming draft. Thank you.
Sabihin ko lang kung sino-sino ang nakasama natin sa study group. Nag-share nito ang ating Vice Chairman Bobby Rosales. Ang isa pa ay former commissioner at hanggang ngayon, boss ko pa rin, Commissioner Chito Salud. Isang former commissioner ng PBL at legal counsel ng PBA, si Attorney OG Narbasa. Isa sa kilala naman siguro nito sa PSC, law professor, sports advocate, presidente ng Pilipinas Obstacle Sports Foundation, si Attorney Alberto Agra. Kasama ko sa Commissioner's Office, ang legal namin si Attorney Melvin Mendoza, Deputy Commissioner Eli Castro, Coach Jolly pa. Matagal na naman talagang haligin na yan. Si Coach Jolly pa sa atin. Technical Head ng D-League, si Junior Bengwa. At ang aking Executive Assistant and Secretary to the Commissioner, si Mitch Flores. Yan po ang bumubuo ng ating study group. Questions? Kinito, nakataas agad na kamay mo. Go, Kinito.
Thank you, Com. 2 questions lang. The first is about field foreigners, yung mga rookies. So we will retain yung requirement ng Bureau of Immigration and Department of Justice. And corollary to that, Deputy Com Eric, you mentioned that they are eligible to be drafted until 30. After 30, they can just sign contracts as free agents, parang gano'n?
No, to your second question, the age limit is up to 30 years old only. So you can only apply up to 30 years old. So above 30, you can no longer apply for the draft if you're a field foreigner.
So like see, Mauricio was 35.
Yes.
He will no
Perfect
longer
example.
he will no
Perfect
longer
example.
be
You
eligible.
can no longer apply next. Yes.
I see.
Kinito, doon sa first question mo, pinag-aaralan na namin ng board.
Mhm.
Okay? Okay, Kinits?
So yung Bureau of Immigration at saka that's still a requirement pero pinag-aaralan.
As of now.
Okay. And then my other question is about yung a player becoming an unrestricted free agent. Right now we have a rule that says that if you were drafted starting 2014, if you finish 7 years with a team and you have no live contract, you can be an unrestricted free agent already. Will that rule no longer apply?
No, it will stay. It will stay.
It will stay. It will stay. So that means yung 7-year period, you can still be an unrestricted free agent kung wala ka ng live contract. Yes? Correct? Okay. Thank you. Yun lang. Thank you, Com. Thank you, Attorney Mel, and thank you, Deputy Com.
Welcome.
Questions? Wala nang questions? Jerry Ramos.
Ang tanong ko lang hindi niyo ba kinonsider na doon sa study group na magsama man lang ng players, mga batang players, mga veteran players or even coaches para sana nalaman niyo man lang kung ano yung mga suggestions nila na pwedeng i-consider din?
Napag-isipan namin yan. Pero nagkasundo-sundo kami. Nandiyan na si Commissioner Chito Salud. Nandiyan na si Commissioner at Attorney OG Narbasa. Pati sa PSC na si Attorney Agra. May mga resource person din kami. Mga media na hindi ko nababanggitin. At mga ibang mga lawyers. So yun ang napagkasunduan at naaprubahan ng board.
Okay, nabanggit na ba sa mga teams yan and mga players yung bagong ruling ng liga?
Hindi pa. Kaya i-memo namin to by tomorrow or by Monday. Nasa kanila na yan. Pero alam na ng mga governors.
Ano na ba yan? i-enforce na ba yan this season or by next year pa?
Enforce na. Simula na kahapon, pare.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Com.
Salamat, Jerry. Questions? Kinito? Kinito ulit? May tanong ka, Kinito? O hindi mo lang natanggal?
Sorry, Com. Tatanggalin ko na ngayon. Sorry.
Okay. Ruben, pare, question.
Maiba lang ako. Balik kay Ray Parks. Meron bang similar agreement si Parks with TNT? Dun sa, di ba kay Ravena, babalik ng 1 year, ganun. Meron bang ganung similar
Wala.
arrangement?
Wala. Wala ako sa nalalaman ko, wala.
Alright, Com.
Hindi. May offer sa kanya. Sorry, May offer sa kanya si Token Text. Kaya, anong polisiya doon, Melvin?
Okay. Si Token Text will still have rights over him until he comes back. But in the meantime, he is free to join another league.
Until 5 years, tama?
5 years ang holdout period.
Okay, so linawin ko lang. So, even though binigyan ng TNT ng clearance si Ray Parks na maglaro sa B-League, TNT still has his playing rights for the next 5 years. Tama po ba?
Tama.
With regards to Kiefer, paano naman yung scenario niya? Yung rights ng LX would be ilang years? Starting from the time he signed this contract to, tama ba? To the 3 years, di ba? So,
Totally,
ano yung magiging rule kay Kiefer?
Well, he signed a 1-year contract with the Shiga Lake Stars. So after that, he will sign again a new contract with NLEX Road Warriors.
At kailangan, di ba kailangan bumalik sa NLEX agad. Kundi, mawawala din yung rights ni NLEX. So, kailangan bumalik din siya. So, yan ang polisiya, Ruben.
Come back to Ray Parks. So, would this mean that TNT can trade Parks dahil may 5-year period, may 5-year rights ang TNT sa kanya eh. So, can TNT trade that right to do a different team based on the rules?
Yes, he can be traded at any time during the 5-year period.
All right. So pwedeng mangyari na habang naglalaro siya sa kung isang Japan team, he can be traded by TNT can trade him to a different team. Parang ganun po. Pwede mangyari yung scenario ganun po.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay po. Salamat po for the clarification.
Sino pa yan? Wala nang tanong? Jerry.
Clarification lang, yung mga maglalarong players sa overseas, hindi lang limited sa Japan yan, no? Kasama rin ba yung mga leagues like Korea, China or Euro League, no? Sakop din yan.
Oo, sa lahat yun.
Sa lahat,
Sa
no?
lahat yan.
Hindi lang Japan, ano?
Tama. Tama, Jerry.
Okay, thank you, Com.
Ruben?
Medyo speculative question or what if si Kai Soto, sa case ni Kai Soto, paano ba ang magiging niyan? He is, I think, 19 years old. Baka lang po merong rule na would apply to Kai.
Kailangan at least 2 years in college siya, pare.
So paano po yan? Kung kasi yun nga, may mga players pa tayo na diretso professional na, paano po kaya yun?
Paano?
I mean, would they be, kasi baka hindi na sila at least 2 years in college eh.
Kailangan
Talaga.
Kailangan 19 o 2 years, at 2 years in
22
college.
years old. He has to wait to become 22 years old.
Kung wala kang 2 years in college,
Ruben,
Yes,
Another option, yung ruta na pwede niya, antayin niya mag-22 anyo siya.
So ano na lang, yung sa age na lang po.
Yes. Kasi obviously, you won't, I don't know, if you're going to go back to college. Kasi he's playing for, di ba, for Australia.
At ang inaano naman namin doon, kasi sa bakit inano natin ng 9 years at 2 years at college, Eric?
Okay.
Nakamas ka.
The reason behind binaba natin yung age natin is to give opportunity for some players, collegiate players, okay, to turn pro. So we have adopted the hardship rule of the NBA also. So they can still pursue their education naman via online, even if at an early age of 19 years old, they can still study. And aside from that, we have provided yung Pairs Trust Fund naman natin to help and encourage them to continue their education.
At yun isa din natin lalagay na programa yan na kung hindi ka tapos mag-aral, katulad may mga sa token Texas sa San Miguel, talagang pinupursige natin matapos sila. Pag-aaralin natin sila through our trust fund.
Okay po, thank you po.
Okay, Ray Hoble.
Good afternoon. Tatanungin ko lang, applicable pa rin ba yung just in case hindi pa nami-meet yung sa sinasabi nyo at least 2 years in college, applicable pa rin ba na yung sinasabi na at least serving the national team? Kasama pa rin ba yun?
Sa dilig yun eh. Sa dilig yun na Ray Hoble. Sa dilig yun.
So hindi sa PBA.
Yan na yan. Yeah, answer. Ray, that's an exception para hindi na dumaan sa D-League before applying for the PBA draft.
Okay.
Yun yung mention mo. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Ruben?
Another clarification, why po 5 years? Pwede yung mga like yung penalties, why 5 years? Bakit hindi po 3, bakit hindi 1? Baka po lang po may reason behind it.
Saan yung 5 years? Anong tinatanong mo? Anong 5 years pare?
I think merong ban or may mga ganong 5-year ban ba yun?
Sa rookie, sa mga rookies, dati 2 years. Tapos, paano yan pag hindi sumali? Ngayon, katulad ng sinasabi ng ating chairman, Bobby Rosales, binibigyan natin ng career path. So, may 3 years ang window mo. Katulad ng mga sumali ngayon, first year pa lang sila. Yung mga sumali ngayon, first year. Pwedeng second year. Ika-third year, pag-aaralan mo na kung itutuloy mo ba yung Japan o kung saan o sasali ka na sa PBA. Kung hindi ka pa sasali sa PBA, magsisit down ka ng 2 years. Yun naman ay polisiya namin. Binibigyan na namin sila ng career path. Mamili ka, di ba? Hindi ka namin binaban. After 5 years, after 3 years, mapapakaramdaman mo na yan, pare. Kung pwede pa baba ako o balik na ako sa PBA. Kung pwede ka pa, after 3 years, 2 years sit down ka. Tapos, pwede ka na sumali sa PBA. So, hindi katulad na dati na pinagbabawal na namin. Ngayon, mamimili ka. Hindi namin pinagbabawal, hindi namin sinasara. Pinapapili namin sila para sa career mo, di ba? Parang, tinan mo kung anong makakaganda sa'yo. Gusto mo dyan? Bigyan ka namin ng 3 taon. Yun, ayun ang malaking pagbabago natin ngayon, Ruben.
Okay, so 2 years sit out ang tawag doon sa ano na yun, yung
Kung kunwari after 3 years hindi ka gusto mo pa na sa Japan, doon ka pa, okay lang, pero sit down ka ng 2 years.
If I may clarify lang, doon sa rookies, 5 years, but they have a window of opportunity within the first 3 years to come back to the PBA. Doon naman sa players with expired contracts, 5 years sit out period then. But the window is only 2 years for them to come back, to decide to come back to the PBA.
Okay. Yung rule po ba is retroactive or I mean kasi like si 30 nag-decide na mag-Japan prior to this rules.
Sa akin, pag depende kay 30, kung babalik si 30, Eh, siguro applicable na to, itong rules na to, makakabalik sa 30. Dati hindi siya makakabalik.
Okay. Sige po. Thank you po.
Salamat. Philip, go ahead.
Good afternoon po, Com, and Attorney Melvin. May linawin lang po, Rule. May nasabi po ata kayo kanina regarding kay Ray Parks yung 5 years na sa TNT pa rin po yung retain yung rights. Pag na-trade po ba siya, parang magsistay pa rin po yung 5 years na yun o mare-reset yung count sa kontrata? Yung rights po niya.
Pakiulit
Pakiulit.
na napuputol.
Malinaw na po ba?
Okay, may hangin kasi. Go ahead.
Tanong ko lang po, Kom, yung pong kay Ray Parks po, di ba sabi po kanina ata, si Ray Parks po, nasa rights po ng TNT for 5 years. Tama po ba? Linawin ko lang po, pag na-trade po siya sa ibang team, marireset po ba yung count? Bale, kung na-trade po ba siya, balik 5 years po yung bilang o retroactive din po yun?
Total is 5 years. So, hindi na ma-extend yun.
Okay, salamat po.
Pre Hoble.
Ay, sorry, Com. Sorry.
Okay. Wala nang questions. So, Philip, itanong ka na naman ulit, Philip.
Okay na po ako, Com. Salamat po.
Denison. Go ahead.
Coach, maano lang po, on a personal level lang po. And question, this question goes for ano na rin po, Sir Eric and Attorney Melvin. Sirs, as part of the study group, ano po siguro yung, would you say, yung biggest, kumbaga, factor on making all these policy adjustments in the context ng, ang tawag dito, na itong mga developments with regards to live contracts and rookie eligibility? What would you say yung biggest factor na prompted you guys?
Ikaw muna. Sa akin muna. Kasi parang nag-evolve eh. Di ba? Dati, ang polisiya natin, dati walang 3 points eh. Dati walang technical, walang penalty. So nag-evolve pare yung nangyayari. So kailangan tayo mag-adjust. Sigurado, pagkatapos pag hindi na ako commissioner, mag-a-adjust pa rin yan, sa mga nangyayari. So inaano natin kung anong bagay sa panahon at ano, kasi nakikita natin kailangan ganito. Yun na sa akin, Eric.
Yeah. Also, in addition, we want the PBA to be the employer of choice. Even if nag-grow yung ano natin, yung ibang kalapit na Asian leagues around the PBA. So, yun lang. Katulad ng sinabi nito, nag-a-adjust tayo every now and then.
Attorney, do you have anything to add po?
Well, yes, ganun din. We reviewed all possible scenarios with respect to the migration of players, for example, to other leagues. We had to affirm, or rather reaffirm, the principle that the sanctity of the contract should be respected. That's why may mga lumabas na stiff penalties for the player and for the team, if the team also agrees to release a player without a valid reason.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it po.
Welcome. Ruben?
Clarification lang po. Correct me if I'm wrong po. Yung dun po sa 30-year-old na Phil Foreign po ba yun? Na gusto magpa-draft. Hanggang 30 years old lang po sila.
Correct.
After
Correct.
po paano po pag 31 na sila or 32, they won't be allowed to play in the PBA na?
Pare,
They
30.
They won't be allowed to apply for the draft.
But they can play, they can be signed directly. Tama po ba? Ganun
No.
po ba? No.
Wala. Kasi
So,
hindi sila dadaan sa draft. Eh.
So in effect, hindi na po sila pwedeng maglaro sa PBA after 30.
Tama.
Phil Foreigns po yan.
Tama.
Locals not covered.
Hindi, may ibang polisiya ang locals.
Pagdating sa ganong age.
Binanggit namin kanina. Oo, pare. Oo.
Okay po. Sige po. Thank you po.
Wala na. Michelle? So wala na. Denson, go ahead, pare.
For technical follow-up lang po, when you mentioned dun sa mga sa sitting out po, for the players who are returning, for example, signed na sila ng certain teams, yung pag-sit out na yun, sir, does that mean barred sila from actually being fielded to the games pero sumasahod sila from the teams? Tama po ba yung intindi ko doon?
Sumasahod? Ano ibig mo sabihin? Sorry.
Dun po sa sit out.
Ay, sit out wala ka. Talagang hindi ka papasahurin. Kasi
Okay.
nasa, di ba? Sit out ka talaga. Wala kang sweldo.
Okay ko. Sige po. Thank you.
Salamat. Wala na. Justin.
Hi, Sir, magandang umaga po. Parang clarification lang din po sana kasi you've mentioned earlier na parang after above 30 years old po, bawal na pong mag-apply for the draft and bawal din po silang makipag-negotiate rekta sa mga teams katulad po ng sa ibang liga like the NBA. Pwede po ba naming malaman yung rationale why 30 and bakit hindi po pwedeng makipag-negotiate?
Well, we believe that for Phil Foreign lang ito, ulitin ko. Let me clear that. Okay, we believe kasi by that time, yung age na yun, you've reached your prime already. As earlier than 30 years old, dapat nag-a-apply ka na for the PBA. So yun ang main reason natin.
Okay po, thank you very much po.
Denison? Ulit? Denison, go ahead.
Wala akong naka-raise lang po. Sorry.
Sige. So, may tanong pa? Wala na? Hindi, nagtanong na. Justin, okay ka na, di ba? Okay na. So, wala na. So, maraming salamat sa inyo. Pinangako namin sa inyo yung press con. Ayan. So, okay. Pasensya na kung hindi kayo sasagutin mamaya. May game. May game pa rin bukas. So, maraming salamat sa inyo sa suporta nyo. Maraming salamat.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Salamat.